How square are my squares? That is the very simple question that we're going to be answering today. I have 10 squares in front of me that I have in my shop, and I'm going to be showing you a very simple technique to check all of your squares for square. Let's get to it. All right, so let's start with the larger squares that I have in my shop, and these range from the 9.5-inch Irwin all the way up to the 13 and a bit inch layout square from iGaging. Now these ones here are laid out in terms of cost, and on the far left here we have this one that I bought from AliExpress, and this is 30 centimeters long, very light, very cheap feeling. This costs $3.50 US dollars. So I paid in Canadian dollars at $4.50, but that converts roughly to $3.50 USD. So very low expectations on this one, just very cheaply made and doesn't really stand straight. There's a lot of bow in kind of this bottom part, but we will check that one for square. Then we have this Irwin one that I've had for probably about 8 years. And this is one of the first layout tools that I bought for general home ownership and DIY. So this one, 9.5 inches long. And you can compare this to, I think Empire is one of the newer version or newer names for, I don't know if it is a direct replacement for Irwin. Here in Canada, you could either buy Empire or Mastercraft. Most of the Irwin stuff has gone away, but this one's 9.5 inches, and the equivalent from Empire retails for around $15 Canadian or $12 US. Then we have this iGaging layout square that I got not too long ago. Really nice aluminum, really nice finish on it, very good build quality. It's got a magnetic bottom, which is awesome. And this retails for, so I paid $40 Canadian for this iGaging one on sale. I think that it was usually $50 to $60 Canadian. So the $40 that I paid is about $30 US, but probably more around the $40 to $45 US. And then finally, we have the Woodpeckers 1282 stainless steel. This is the metric version, so it is 300 millimeters long, made out of stainless steel, really heavy duty. And this retails for $140 US dollars, so very expensive. I actually bought this as part of a set that includes a 6-inch version as well, and I paid 370 Canadian dollars for both of those. So very expensive. Woodpeckers is known for their quality, their accuracy, but is it worth it? So let's take a look at how these match up, and I'm going to show you how to do that first of all. So what we're going to do, and we really only need two different things to do this. We need a piece of material where we can draw lines, and we are going to square up the edge here. And then we need a marking device. So you can either use a standard pencil, you can use a marking tool if you want, so a marking knife. But for me, I just choose to use my 0.5 millimeter mechanical pencil. But first of all, what we're going to do is we're just going to square up one edge on this 1/2-inch piece of scrap MDF. Okay, so just use the track saw to get a very straight edge on the one side. And you don't have to use a track saw, just use anything that you have available to you where you can guarantee that you'll get a straight edge. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our square and we're gonna start with the expensive one. So we're starting with the Woodpeckers 1282. And we're going to hold it against that edge. And I'm just going to be doing the outside on this. You can check the thickness and you can do the inside as well, but we're going to draw a line. And now the key to drawing this line is to try to just get an even stroke. So that's not necessarily thicker at the top and thinner at the bottom. You want a relatively even stroke, especially if you're using something like a number 2 pencil. So we're going to get some lead down, and there we go. So we got our first line. Very consistent line. So not too thick at the top, not too thick at the bottom. Then we're going to flip the square, and that's where the magic happens. And so we're using the same reference side on the square, and we're going to kind of line this up pretty close to the other line there, and we're going to draw the line again. Back it off, and then what we can do, and it doesn't really matter how close you get it. So here I've kind of left a probably about 1/2 millimeter gap, and I can see that at the bottom and at the top, it's about the exact same distance between the two lines. So that's what we're looking for. We're just looking for the exact same distance. So if you did the line right on top of each other, you're basically trying to just make sure that then you have the same thickness all the way to the top and the bottom. So the Woodpeckers, let's just label this WP. And yeah, it looks good. So now let's move to the eye gauging. And again, we're doing the outside. We're gonna do the full length, top to bottom, consistent line, and we're gonna flip it. And we're gonna do the exact same thing, just kind of hold it down anyway. I've got the tripod in the way there, so if you see me holding it a funky way, that would be why. Do that line. And this is interesting. Now I did a couple of these testing before, but I'm just gonna put IG for eye gauging. And I've generally been very happy with my eye gauging tools before, but down here we've got about that same probably 0.5 millimeter gap as the woodpeckers, but at the top, it's probably at least double, if not triple, the width. So this isn't square, and there might be some adjustments that I can do to this to get it square on the bottom, but that is a little disappointing for essentially like what is a premium square. So if you're paying 30 or 40 US dollars for a layout square, you'd expect it to be pretty close, and this is off quite a bit. Let's move to the Irwin. So this is kind of the one that I've been using for a long time, very plastic, or well, not very plastic, it is a plastic base, metal sides. So let's hold that there. Again, line down, flip it over, and there we go. And you know what? I know this one's only 9.5 inches long, and it's just kind of an accident that I've kind of got the same width down here for all these. Again, it doesn't really matter, but the consistency between the top and the bottom on this Irwin, like $12-ish USD square, is not too bad. So like I'd give that like, oh gosh, probably like at least a 9 out of 10. Now the durability on the edges is kind of the concerning bit on this, but very accurate. So I'm kind of glad that I've been using this for most of my squaring needs over the past few years. Now we move to this one from AliExpress, and I don't have very high expectations on this. Let's do the line. And let's try to get close to the same thickness at the bottom. Yeah, so once again, kind of very similar thickness on all four of these, and a huge gap at the top. So this gap at the top is even more significant than the eye gauging. So I'm just gonna put an AE for AliExpress. And yeah, now what do you do with a very low quality tool? Like the weight of the ruler part is just or more than the base here. So I don't know what this is, whether it's like a cast aluminum or something like that, but I feel like I'm going to try to break off the bottom piece so I can just use this as a ruler, which I'd actually want to check to make sure that that's accurate on its own. But this is really kind of the easiest way for you to check for square. So we can see here, woodpeckers is bang on. It's exactly what I would have expected from a premium tool like that. The Irwin is also like very close to that. Like I can't see any discernible difference between those two. Now, there are going to be some quality control issues at the Irwin level, or Empire, that sort of thing. The eye gauging one is the most disappointing. I am going to spend a little bit of time, not on this video, but I'm going to try to see if I can calibrate it and get it back, because that is definitely disappointing, because I feel like most of the time that would not be my go-to square. And the AliExpress, it's going to go away. Now, let's take a look at a whole bunch of these smaller squares. I'm just going to draw all the lines, label them, and then do a little bit of show and tell on those. Okay, so now that we've got all the little guys done, let's just take a quick peek. So first off, we have this 6-inch machinist square, and very inexpensive. I'm gonna estimate that this was around $20-ish from Lee Valley, but fairly accurate. So this is used in a lot of machine shops and that sort of thing, and I'd say that it is basically bang on as well. So happy with that. The Woodpeckers 642 stainless steel. So this is the 150 millimeter stainless steel woodpeckers, and also very good, so happy with that. Then we have the eye gauging combination square here, And I bought this as a set, so it comes with a 6-inch and the 4-inch, which I tested over there. And I would say that it is also very close. So it might be a little bit smaller of a gap at the bottom than at the top, but very, very close, because the second line is a little thinner at the top on that. So happy with that. And this eye gauging set, I think, was like probably $60-ish for the two. Then we have another Irwin. So this is an Irwin combination square. And geez, this is so impressive. It is basically bang on. Now, combination squares, you just always have to make sure that you're locked into place and that there's no slop. The 4-inch from eye gauging, I would say, is also very, very, very close. So very happy with that. Then we have the other eye gauging. So this is a bench square. This one's really handy. I actually use this quite often, and I would say that it is also, again, it's this last one here, pretty much bang on. So all of these small squares, I would say, are very close to being exactly perfect. Now, you can also do some light tests where you can hold the two up. So if you have a known square, so like if we want to say that this Irwin one is guaranteed to be square, we could check it against another one and see if any light goes through that. All right, so we just tested 10 different squares. So we've got these 4 larger ones, 6 smaller ones, and overall, they were almost all very close. And how close is close enough is something that you have to ask yourself. Now, this one from AliExpress, it's gonna go. It's not going to take a place in my shop and to have somebody accidentally use it thinking that square when it's really not. The Irwin is going to remain kind of on the pegboard and ready to access at any time for any project that I have going on. The woodpeckers is going to be my go-to, although being stainless steel, it is a little heavy. So I want to make sure that it's around and accessible, but at the same time, not something that's going to be damaged. All these 6 little guys all serve different purposes. So I think that the bench square and the woodpeckers are going to remain my go-to, with the machinist square kind of being that really quick one for what I'm doing. So the big question mark is the eye gauging layout square. And I am going to fiddle with the screw on the bottom to see if there is a way to get this to be corrected, because this is one being aluminum. It's very lightweight. It's not overly expensive, although at $30 to $40 it's not cheap. But it's one that I really want to kind of get going so that it would be kind of just bouncing around from bench to bench in the shop. But how square is square enough? Now, for me, most of the work that I do is with cabinet making, and I do want to do some tests with my MFT here, with my track and kind of the whole fence setup to make sure that I am getting perfectly square cuts. But what I can do now is, rather than trying to draw a line with this, is I can just cut a piece of material on here, take a trusted square, the larger the better, depending on the size of the material, and check for square. So that is really what the purpose of these tools are. So leave a comment below about how square is square enough for you. What kind of squares do you have? Do you have a collection much like this that ranges from the kind of $3.50 all the way up to the couple $100? Or do you kind of have that trusted like Irwin one that you've had for a number of years? You know it's accurate, you've done the test, and it's just your go-to. So again, leave that comment below, like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more videos soon. Thanks for watching.